Good evening to our hosts, community partners, presenters, and attendees this evening, and a special warm greeting to my co-chair, Bruce Rose. We are here this evening because it is Prostate Cancer Awareness Week in New Bedford. It was approved by the mayor and city council in 2020 at the request of the Human Rights Commission. Bruce Rose and I learned at an NAACP regional meeting that Bristol County ranked among the highest in incidence and mortality rates from this disease. The rates were staggering, and we all left feeling we had to do something. So we each went back to the associations and boards we represented and enlisted them in the fight. That is why we are both here today. Prostate cancer discriminates mostly against Black and brown men. It is a health disparity. The good news is this can be changed through education, resources, advocacy, and action. Bruce?
Well, I just want to extend a welcome and thanks on behalf of the hosts, the sponsors, and the partnering organizations as we address an issue so critical to the health of the community, particularly for Black males who are at high risk for prostate cancer. The importance of awareness and early detection cannot be understated. And we hope that this event will help to broaden that awareness, answer some questions, and offer information on resources available. I think it's important to understand that prostate cancer is not just personal or individual matter for Black males, but it is in fact a community matter. The impact of this disease is felt not just by the individual, but by their families and the whole community. So we view this as a community endeavor, and as such, we're taking a community approach to address it. So I want to thank everyone here for joining us tonight.
And in saying that, I'd like to acknowledge the community partners that are with us on the call today. The organizations that are represented are the A.J. Gomes Neighborhood Association, Bethel AME Church, the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater New Bedford, the Cape Verdean Veterans Auxiliary Association, the Cape Verdean Association, Latino Chamber of Commerce, New Bedford Historical Society, New Bedford YMCA, Union Baptist Church, Union Lodge Number 4, Freemasons and Accepted Masons, United House of Prayer for All People, and the YWCA of Southeastern Massachusetts. Thank you all for your partnership.
Yes.
I do see the chairman of the Human Rights Commission, Martin Bentz. Martin, would you like to say a few words on tonight's event?
Yes, I'd be happy to give a few words, say, impromptu. To me, the awareness and early detection and then treatment of prostate cancer is vital. It is primarily, it affects Black and brown men, but I know also of many men of all races who have been affected. And those who have been able to detect it early have been able to take care of it and get it treated and have a high survival rate. I sadly had a godfather who, it was prior to these awareness times when there was still a lot of stigma involved with being aware that you have prostate cancer or not aware of it. And so he deferred any kind of treatment until it was too late. And then it rapidly expanded into the rest of him. So I feel that it's what AdMeTech is doing and the new funding that they're offering to help people go through this process is a great step forward. And I really encourage everyone who is able to see this particular program, either live now today or in video, to take the necessary steps to take care of their health. And thank you very much all for being on the call.
And as with any chronic disease, part of the help comes from sharing your experiences and sharing your stories. With us on the call today is Mr. Edward Rogers, who is a very well-known and beloved member of our community. And he is a survivor of prostate cancer. And he is here on the call today to share his experience. I think we all know who he is. His bio says he's a native of Chicago, but he's been with us over 30 years, so we claim him as our own. He is a graduate of Harvard University Medical School, and he currently is a primary care physician with Hawthorne Medical. He's been there since 2009. Dr. Potts, thank you so much for being with us today. And you now have
very good. Oh, well, so yeah, I mean, I could give you my bio as well. So that is accurate. I'm also a graduate of Harvard undergrad and Harvard Medical School. I am a Chicagoan and always will be a Chicagoan, but I have been here and doing my share here in the New Bedford community. I'm a primary care doctor. You know, Dr. Kamenides is actually my partner here at Hawthorne. So he's the expert on prostate cancer, and I am you know, the front line of really of patient care and really seeing patients with prostate cancer in men. And I think the most important thing and the message that people need to communicate to everyone they know is it's important to try and establish a relationship with a primary care doctor. Unfortunately, one of the hardest things in medicine today is finding a primary care doctor. And in this community alone and everywhere else, I mean, it can take you up to a year to find a primary care doctor. I'm not accepting new patients, and so I haven't been for years. But it is so important, especially for African American men, to try and get into the healthcare cycle where you're doing regular follow-ups and getting routine screening, like not only for prostate cancer but also for colon cancer, which really can be preventable diseases. Well, death from those diseases. You know, the prostate cancer is the most common non-skin malignancy that is around, and unfortunately, you know, by the time a lot of African American and men of color get in to see a doctor because they don't have routine care, they may have advanced stages of prostate cancer, and which really means your prognosis is much worse. You know, 84% of the cases of prostate cancer, you know, really don't necessarily end up in death or anything if you get proper screening. And so it's really important, and programs like this that encourage people to do so really can make a difference on morbidity and mortality. You know, I think one of the, and I'm not sure if you want me to go on, if you have anything else. I mean, I can certainly give you my take on, from a primary care perspective, about prostate cancer. And I know Dr. Kamenides, you know, is like I said, an expert on that. And from a primary care perspective, I think one, it's important to get in with get a doctor, and two, to make sure you follow up with them and at least get an annual visit in. You know, one of the things that President Obama did was, with the Affordable Care Act, was really make it require insurances to not charge a copay for an annual physical. So a lot of people who are worried about, oh, I can't afford this. Well, you can get an annual visit that doesn't have a copay through your insurance because of Obamacare. And until they rescind that and take away those things, that's something that people really need to do. I think one of the, you know, in addition to getting screened and other things, I think one of the latest things that really, certainly for men of color and people who are at higher risk of prostate cancer. So if you have a family history of prostate cancer, you definitely should be reaching out. You know, if that's an uncle, cousin, father, brother, you definitely want to get screened. You know, the question becomes, from primary care point of view, is how can you prevent this? Now, the exact cause of prostate cancer is not known, but the data seems to be accumulating suggesting what can you do to prevent it? And there's a lot of pseudoscience people out there, including the current, RFK Jr., who's the current Health and Human Services Secretary. They're giving you mixed information. But one of the things that is clear is that nutrition does seem to play a role in prostate cancer. And one of the things that people need to do, and certainly men of color, we need to change how we eat. And these processed meats, these deli meats, and all, lots of these things, the animals are giving feed that have hormones in them, and some of these hormones are definitely carcinogenic. Now, so if you're going to tell somebody, now if you really want to decrease your risk of prostate cancer, you would you become a vegetarian. Well, that's not likely to happen for most African-American men. I mean, let's be real. And most men in general. But there are things you can do. One is try and focus on chicken, turkey, ideally organic, where they aren't using these feeds that have hormones and other things in it. Fish, of course, but there's always also the risk of mercury in fish, but certainly fish in moderation, as well as turkey, chicken. Red meat is not a good idea. Pork, those things, because these animals, the pigs, the cows, they're giving them these hormone enriched feed so that they grow bigger. If you see chicken wings now, them chicken wings are big as heck. Okay, chickens are not working out. Okay, they are not exercising. Okay, so if you seeing those big, huge pieces of chicken wings, it's because they're using hormones, and you don't want to be eating that stuff. And if we can encourage people to change their diet, and that includes me. I mean, I'm definitely eating less red meat, but nobody's going to completely eliminate red meat. But you really need to, if you're going to eat it, you probably want to try and get organic meat, red meat. But the big thing is really to change your diet. That's something that you can easily do that might decrease your risk of getting prostate cancer. I mean, another one of the things that comes up in the question is people say, well, I'm not having any symptoms. So why the heck, how could I have prostate cancer? You don't have to have any symptoms to have prostate cancer. And one of the anecdotal stories I tell lots of my patients all the time is, I had a Portuguese man, I think I told this story before, 40 years old, came in for, it was this, I usually don't do rectal exams on people till they're 40 unless they have a reason. Did a rectal exam on him. He had a nodule in his prostate, and it turned out to be prostate cancer. And had done so. PSA screening has made a huge impact in decreasing the incidence of metastatic prostate cancer, but it's not 100% that test. Now, a lot of doctors are moving away from doing the digital rectal exam where you might feel a nodule. I haven't. I think it's still a useful thing. And so I found 40-year-old patient, he had a nodule in his prostate. I did a PSA on him. It was perfectly normal. I sent him to one of our urologists who did do a biopsy on him, and it turned out to be prostate cancer. And this was years ago, before the advent of MRI. So now we have some very useful tools to identify prostate cancer, identify the risk of in people with prostate cancer. And that includes the PSA and the scoring that goes along with that, but also the use of MRI to try and identify actual nodules in the prostate and monitor those and really decide if patients really are at risk. So I think the message that I have is, look, go get a doctor, a good primary care doctor. Okay, establish a relationship and go in and get these routine tests done, because you can identify these cancers quicker, make you much less likely to die from it. Black men are probably twice as likely to die from prostate cancer as white men. And prostate cancer is not something exclusive to Black men. And all men can get it. If you live long enough, you can, the saying is 1 out of 6 men will get prostate cancer. Okay, and what's your outcome going to be? Well, if you're African American, we're not that lucky. And our prognosis is usually worse. And a lot of times it's because we haven't identified these things early enough, where other people like white males might be forced, usually by their wives, by the way, to go see a doctor. And so I encourage women to get on their men, because that's how a lot of men have come to see me. Their wives are like, "You going to see the doctor," and establish that relationship. And once they establish that relationship with me, they're glad to come in. But you got to get them in the door, and women, like, look, you want to be with me, you better go get checked, because I don't want to be taking care of you with some damn cancer you dying from that you could have prevented. But so I mean, I'll leave that. I'll stop now. Certainly, Dr. Kamenides is excellent and the expert on this. But from a primary care perspective, things that we need to focus on: nutrition, screening, and just regular follow-up with the doctor, no matter what the problem is, to decrease your risk of dying from things that are preventable.
Thank you, Dr. Potts, for your perspective and your wisdom. Bruce, would you introduce? And I also want to remind the attendees on the call, we will entertain your questions at the end of the event. So as you're listening to each of our presenters, if you have some questions that come to mind, kindly put them in the chat and your questions will all be answered.
Actually, Marcy, I noticed there is a question here, and I'm wondering if Dr. Potts or Dr. Kamenides would like to comment. And the question is, isn't there a link between a family history of breast cancer and prostate cancer?
Oh, absolutely there is. So the BRCA gene actually, which is, familial for breast cancer, we have now tons of data that say that people that have, family history of breast cancer have high risk of prostate cancer. So absolutely. And that is something that, in people that are newly diagnosed with prostate cancer, sometimes, genetic testing is appropriate for them.
But well, now I'd like to formally introduce Dr. Kamenides. Dr. Kamenides earned his medical degree at Boston University School of Medicine. He completed his internship in general surgery and residency in urology at the University of Buffalo Jacobs School of Medicine and biomedical science, where he had also served as chief resident in urology. His training included robotic surgery at Buffalo University affiliated hospitals. Dr. Kamenides is board certified by the American Board of Urology. He enjoys practicing in all areas of general
Just have to
urology.
tell.
Oh, there we go.
It says me, but it will have your feet.
In all areas of general urology, with particular interest in BPH, benign prostate hyperplasia, enlarged prostate, stone disease, erectile dysfunction, male and female incontinence, and robotic surgery. In his spare time, Dr. Kamenides enjoys family time with his wife and two wonderful children, traveling, reading, and playing basketball. Dr. Kamenides.
Sorry. Thanks for that lovely introduction. Thanks for having me. So I'm going to give you a little introduction about prostate cancer. I acknowledge I don't have a lot of time to get into a lot of detail, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions at the end. So as Dr. Potts talked about, prostate cancer is a very common disease. It's the most, prevalent cancer in men after skin cancer, and it's the second killer of men, with lung cancer being number one. So it's a very, common disease. Some risk factors for prostate cancer. AIDS is one of them. So Dr. Potts is absolutely right. So if you live long enough, there's a almost guarantee you're going to end up getting prostate cancer, but you're not going to die from prostate cancer. You're going to die with the cancer. And we've actually done studies where people die at the age of 80 from heart attacks, strokes. And we actually found in postmortem that 80% of them had prostate cancer. So it's a very prevalent disease, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it will kill you. But it is also true that African Americans have high risk of getting prostate cancer. And surprisingly also, they are 2 to 2.5 more likely to die from prostate cancer. It's very important. So, awareness is, probably the most important thing in saving lives in prostate cancer, because most of those lives can be saved. Now, family history is very important for prostate cancer as well. We do know that having a father that had prostate cancer increases your risk twofold for prostate cancer. And more importantly, actually, having a brother that had prostate cancer increases your risk for prostate cancer 4 times fold. So having a brother that had prostate cancer is very, very important. And, you should definitely, tell your primary care if you have a brother that was diagnosed with, prostate cancer. Now, we also talk about the BRCA gene. So family history of breast cancer is very important. So it's very important to notify your, primary care when you meet with them about family history of breast cancer as well, because that does increase your risk for prostate cancer as well. Now, we've done actually a lot of studies about prevention of prostate cancer with a lot of dietary, issues. We haven't really found something that clearly, will decrease your risk for prostate cancer. Now, I know Dr. Potts was talking a little bit about dietary, modifications. And to be honest, what I tell my patients all the time is whatever is good for your heart is good for your prostate. Because ultimately, we don't have any other, good data to support that dietary issues will lead to prostate cancer. But having said that, we have tons of that for cardiovascular issues. So whatever is good for your heart is good for your prostate. Now, the way we screen for prostate cancer, there's 2 tests, and Dr. Potts is right on it. PSA being one of them, which is just blood work that we do kind of yearly. And the other one is a rectal exam that understandably most patients don't want to have done. And I get it, but unfortunately there are rare cases of prostate cancer, like the one Dr. Potts was talking about, where the prostate cancer changes so much that it does not secrete PSA anymore. And you can actually feel it on an exam versus you're, not able to see it on a PSA. So it's very important, those 3 seconds of the rectal exam, to be done on a yearly basis. We used to recommend screening around the age of 50 on men that don't have family history of prostate cancer, and around 45 in men that have significant family history of prostate cancer. And it's still kind of true. That's what I usually do. 50 and above, we start doing with a rectal exam and a PSA. If you have significant family history of prostate cancer, including a brother that was diagnosed with prostate cancer, then the age of 40 to 45 is probably when I would start doing my initial screenings. And that's something that usually you would start seeing with your primary care. So it's very important to, have a primary care. And Dr. Potts also talked about the lack of primary cares, and unfortunately, that's the truth around our area. We don't have a lot of primary cares, and that is very unfortunate. And a lot of them are retiring now, which makes it even impossible. There's like thousands of patients now that don't have primary care, which is very unfortunate. But the screening for prostate cancer starts at the age of 40 to 45 if you have a strong family history of prostate cancer, after the age of 50 if you don't, and what includes is a yearly rectal exam with your primary care and a PSA. Now, if any of those are abnormal, then people see me, and then we start, working them up for, what to do next. So PSA is an enzyme that only your prostate secretes, and we use that as a screening tool. Elevation of that tells us that there's something wrong with the prostate. That doesn't necessarily mean prostate cancer. There's a lot of, other things that can cause the PSA to go up. And that's when you'll see me, we'll do an exam. And then Dr. Potts is also very accurate about the MRI, which is a new technology that we've been using now for the past 5 to 8 years. And it really has revolutionized, the way we deal with prostate cancer. Because the MRI can if it shows something abnormal, then you have a specific area that you can target for a biopsy. Versus in the past, when you had an elevated PSA, we did what we called a blind biopsy, which is a templated biopsy, and we were just going to the areas that we know that prostate cancer resides. So MRI really changed things. So basically, you're going to end up having an exam with your primary care. If they feel something abnormal or your PSA is abnormal, then you will see me. At which point, what we do, the next step always is to repeat the PSA to make sure it's truly elevated. If it is truly elevated, then we do an MRI. If the MRI comes back completely negative, that is very reassuring, and we can just continue monitoring, the patient's PSA going forward. If the MRI is abnormal, the next step is to proceed with a biopsy, so we can get tissue to make sure that there is no cancer. So after that, if the diagnosis comes back as cancer, prostate cancer is really not you have cancer, you need to get treated. It's a much more complex disease. So there is very low risk prostate cancer, which means that people will not die from that type of cancer. And then we have the aggressive forms that if we don't treat, there's a good chance in the next 3 to 5, 10 years, people will die from it. And those are the ones we definitely need to find and treat before it kills the patient. The very low risk cancer, and that's the Gleason 6. And the way we classified it goes from 6 to 10, with 6 being the least aggressive, 10 being the most aggressive. Now, we also have the newer classification with categories. So I'm not going to get into that now, but 6 means very low risk cancer. And in those cases, actually, people have high risk of dying from a heart attack or stroke rather than from the cancer. In those cases, actually, we don't do active treatment. We do what we call active surveillance, which is we monitor the cancer because we actually found out that that type of cancer won't kill you. The problem with those types of cancers is, could it be that we missed something when we did the biopsy? Could it be that there's higher risk cancer there? That's why we survey the patient for at least a couple years, where we keep a very close eye on the PSA, repeat a biopsy, and then we treat only and only if things change. And from the data we had is people that are very low risk, out of 10 patients that we put into that category, 7 actually stay on active surveillance, and only 3 of them need to be treated. So by that, we spare them with any type of side effects from treatment. But obviously, if someone has an aggressive form of cancer, we need to address it. Because if we don't, there's a high likelihood that the patient will die from it. So obviously, we need to address it. And how do we treat prostate cancer? There's 2 main treatments for prostate cancer. And I'll talk about the 2 main ones, and I'll talk about the experimental ones too. Surgery being one of them, and radiation being the other one. With surgery, you remove the prostate, and we do it nowadays robotically. It used to be open procedure. I don't think there's anyone that is doing it openly anymore. So we do it robotically with minimal incisions, where we remove the prostate, and that's one part of the treatment. Another treatment is radiation. And it's radiation with hormonal therapy versus radiation alone, where you radiate from the outside the prostate and you destroy the tissue. When you compare the 2 modalities in efficacy of treatment, they're both very equivalent in actually curing the cancer. And it's kind of, there's a lot of nuances of who needs surgery versus who needs radiation. Now, there's also some other treatments, such as cryotherapy, HIFU. There's a lot of things online that people can find. Those are localized treatment for prostate cancer. Up to this point, we don't have significant data to actually support that they're equivalent to radiation and surgery. But there are a lot of data coming out that, that might be part of the future way we treat prostate cancer. I know I went through a lot in a very few amount of time. So I'm more than happy to answer any other questions going forward. If there's any question right now, I'm more than happy to answer them.
We're going to save the questions for the end of the presentation. Baptiste is on the call. Counselor, will you share some words on this event?
Yeah, hold on. I'm trying to set up my camera. I didn't have the Zoom for my phone. I'm about to step in to City Hall for a meeting. I'm sorry for me not having the camera on, but I think this is very important. I think that as a Black man myself, I worry, and seeing that a lot of people of color passing away early, seeing a lot of the guys where we come from, not, we wasn't always taught about the best of nutrition. We wasn't always taught about the best of health. Some of us were scared to go to the doctors. Some of us were scared to hear some news. So I think that, getting the word out and making people more comfortable about getting a PCP, about understanding how important having a PCP is, seeing your PCP, and making sure that you're checking your body. Your body is your temple, right? There's certain things you can't control, but as long as you're taking care of yourself, getting checkups all the time and doing what you have to do, that's very important. I know it's very important for me. I like to thank you guys for just coming on, and I'm giving your time to everybody to make us aware of this significant problem going on, this health issue. And we tend to look to the side for a lot of things. I'll be all right. This is just something, a cold, and it's just passing. And we have to stop going with the old ways of thinking that everything's just going to be all right, and actually go see a doctor and take care of yourself. And then tell a friend, about the checkup, and make sure your friends are getting checked up. If you're a good friend, you want to see your friends last long as well. So, I want to see my friends last long, so I would advise my friends to get checkups as well. But I'd like to thank you for your time, and I thank you for everybody for coming on. and I hope everybody just spreads the word to somebody. Thanks, Marcy.
Thank you, Councilor Baptiste, for jumping on. I know you have another meeting.
Council
Okay.
Pereira ain't here yet, so I'm on with you for a little while longer.
Great.
Thank
Ed
you.
Rogers, are you still on the call? I saw this. Oh,
Hello?
there you are. I introduced you earlier. I think you were having some technical difficulty. Part of the help I said earlier comes from sharing information, and I know that want to thank you for coming on the call today to share your story.
I'm using my wife's computer, so my name is Edward J. Rogers. Good evening. I had prostate cancer. When I went for my PSA, it was too low to detect, so forth and so on. Then my yearly checkup, I went and they found it was 5.5. So my primary doctor said, okay, you got to go have a biopsy done. Well, they took 12 samples, and out of the 12 samples, 10 were cancerous. So then I had a choice. This is going back to 2012. It was either chemotherapy, radiation, or have it removed. It being the size of a walnut, and if it had spread, I said, well, I guess I'll have it removed. I went to Beth Israel because they did have the Da Vinci machine, which is laparoscopic, and they didn't have it around here. Thing went fine. For the next few years, I was I go for my PSA every 6 months, too low to detect, too low to detect. Of 2018, I go and it's off the scale again. My doctor sends me for an MRI. They find out that my pelvis prostate gland had cancer. So the treatment, because I didn't have the chemotherapy, I could go for radiation. So I started going for radiation over in Fairhaven on Mill Road. They mapped it out, and I had 39 sessions of radiation. Knock on wood, since then, since March of 2018, I have yet to have a negative reading. Every time I go for an exam, I go every 6 months just to be on the safe side of things. It's too low to detect. My last test was in August of this year, and I'll go again in February. And once again, it was too low to detect. People ask, they say, "Oh, you're cancer free." I don't know if I'm cancer free, but I know I'm too low to detect if there is cancer in me. So that's basically the story. And by going for regular checkups, I found out that I had prostate cancer. And a lot of people in my neighborhood that I grew up had the same problem with prostate cancer. We did live in an industrial mill, was right up the street from all of us. So that was my story. And knock on wood, when I go in February, it'll be too low to detect again.
Thank you, Ed, for sharing your story. And we're glad that you're feeling healthy and well. I'm wondering if the doctors, Dr. Potts or Dr. Kamenitis, do you want to comment on Mr. Rogers and his experience that he shared? Do you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, so unfortunately, what happened is, it's not a common occurrence, and I don't know the specifics, but unfortunately, with prostate cancer, even after having surgery, there are rates of recurrences, and unfortunately, that's what happened. So he had a recurrence of prostate cancer, which required adjuvant therapy, meaning additional therapy afterwards, with radiation. But it seems like he's doing really well now, which is great. And I wish I could say, after 10 years of being, PSA very low, you can say that someone is cured. It's very difficult to say that with a certainty because there's always a risk of that recurring. So I'm always kind of careful telling people you're cured, but it seems like he's doing really well now, which is great, and hopefully not a lot of side effects.
Yeah, I would just like to say a little something about Ed Rogers. He's a hero in this community. He has donated a phenomenal amount of blood. He's benefited from the healthcare system, and he has certainly given back to it and paid it forward. I think it's like over 500 quarts or gallons that he's donated the blood. So he's well deserving for his recovery to prostate cancer.
Thank you.
Indeed. Okay, I have the honor of introducing Dr. Stern. Dr. Famous Stern is a founding member of AdMeTech Foundation, one of our primary sponsors of this evening's event. She has served as president and CEO since December of 1997. In this position, Dr. Stern has been providing international leadership for designing and implementing groundbreaking programs in prostate cancer research, education, awareness, and advocacy, with a priority focus on the advancement of diagnostic tools. Her work at AdMeTech has led to introduction of precedent-setting legislation and a formal hearing on prostate cancer diagnosis in U.S. Congress. Recognition of prostate cancer as a public health priority by Massachusetts legislature. She has received multiple commendations from Massachusetts legislatures. She has also received extensive coverage by major media outlets. This is her life-defining work. She is meeting people where they are, equipping them with the tools to fight back and getting results. I have great respect for Dr. Stern, and it is my privilege to partner with her in this work. Please welcome Dr. Famous Stern.
Thank you so much, Marcy. It's a pleasure to be with New Bedford community again. And I actually want to start with a very brief testimony that was recently provided to Black Health Matters by James Pickens Jr., who is my personal hero, who is studying in Grey's Anatomy. Many of us know him as a very distinguished physician from Grey's Anatomy, and he was recently diagnosed with prostate cancer, and we would like to demonstrate a brief video of his recent testimony.
1 in 8 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer in their lifetime. For Black men, the risk is even higher. Fortunately, prostate cancer is highly treatable, but early detection is the key. And sometimes there are no noticeable symptoms. For years, I've worked with Black Health Matters to urge men to get screened regularly, starting with a simple blood test. Today, I'm living proof that early detection works. If you're Black or prostate cancer runs in your family, talk to your doctor about getting screened starting at age 40. To learn more, go to blackhealthmatters.com.
I thought it was a very, I was deeply moved by what I saw a couple of days ago, and I was eager to share it with everyone here. Once again, Marcy, everyone in New Bedford, thank you for having us again. And I prepared my presentation as a video to avoid any kind of problems with PowerPoint. Emma?
Welcome to our event. On behalf of the AdMeTech Foundation, I'd like to thank our old and new partners for increasing prostate cancer awareness in New Bedford. Since 2017, we have been working with the co-hosts of this event, Marcy Pina of the New Bedford Human Rights Commission, Dr. Bruce Rose of New Bedford NAACP, Cheryl Bartlett of Greater New Bedford Community Health Center, and leaders of the New Bedford Department of Public Health. We appreciate participation of many featured speakers today, including elected officials and Drs. Earl Potts and Harry Kamenides of the Hawthorne medical associates. We welcome new participating organizations, A.J. Gomez Neighborhood Association, Bethel AME Church, local boys and girls clubs, YMCA and YWCA, Cape Verdean Veterans and Auxiliary Association, Cape Verdean Association, Latino Chamber of Commerce, New Bedford Historical Society, Union Baptist Church, Union Large Number 4 Freemasons and Accepted Masons, and United House of Prayer for All People. My name is Faina Stern. I'm a physician and president of the AdMeTech Foundation, a nonprofit organization leading regional, national, and global programs in prostate cancer education, research, public awareness, advocacy, and clinical care equity. I'd like to express my gratitude to members of the New Bedford delegation to the State House who made our programs, including today's event, possible. In my talk, I'll describe AdMeTech Foundation's history and our prostate cancer program, established to lead cutting-edge advances in patient care and eliminate health disparities. In particular, the focus of my talk is on the AdMeTech Foundation Prostate Cancer Equity Resource Project, created to ensure that all Massachusetts men have access to high-quality care, including the best-in-class advances in screening, diagnosis, and treatment available today. History of AdMeTech Foundation and its program is closely tied with my own professional history. Since 1990, I was head of diagnostic imaging research branch at the National Cancer Institute. In this position, I was leading development of national and international research policy and related strategy and programs for the National Institute of Health, Department of Health and Human Services, and U.S. federal government. Our priority focus was on the advancement of breast cancer imaging. We created digital mammography, breast MRI, advanced ultrasound, and molecular imaging for improved patient care. We also worked on teleradiology for image transition for a second opinion so that we could bring world-class expertise to underserved rural and remote communities. These breast cancer programs transformed screening and early detection, enabled minimally invasive lumpectomy, which replaced radical mastectomy and reduced health disparities. In 1996, while our breast cancer programs were well underway at NIH, I brought together the key leaders of government, medicine, and industry who recommended prostate cancer as the next national priority focus for several reasons. First, prostate cancer is the most common major internal cancer among men. It is as common among men as breast cancer in women. Prostate cancer strikes 1 in 8 men, while breast cancer strikes 1 in 8 women. And yet, prostate cancer diagnostics and care lagged behind breast cancer by several decades. Second, prostate cancer screening with blood test PSA was successful in identifying men at risk of losing their lives and in reducing mortality or death from prostate cancer. However, men needed accurate diagnostic tools that would make it possible to sort out if abnormal screening result was due to false alarm or due to a life-threatening prostate cancer. Accurate diagnostic tools would make it possible to create personalized and most effective plan for clinical care for each man and avoid unnecessary procedures. Third, treatment of prostate cancer, such as radical surgery, was highly invasive and traumatic, leading to prolonged hospitalization, difficult recovery, and the unacceptable level of life-altering complications. Similarly to women with breast cancer, accurate imaging would make it possible to develop minimally invasive treatment for men with prostate cancer or male lumpectomy. Fourth, prostate cancer is a leading health disparity. Black men are 2.5 times more likely to die compared to white men. We did not see this level of disparities in breast cancer even early in my career, in the 80s and 90s. Finally, in sharp contrast to women with breast cancer, men did not have accurate imaging leading to blind biopsies and treatment. Our work in breast cancer imaging created a blueprint for transforming prostate cancer care. Together with other leaders, based on this consensus, we approached NCI and NIH in a hope to see an increased government investment in prostate cancer research. Unfortunately, in spite of our joint track records and a year-long effort, we did not succeed in convincing US government. In response to the lack of support from federal government, by late 1997, we established AdMeTech Foundation with the mission to end blind patient care and create the future of image-guided, minimally invasive diagnosis and treatment. We call it the Manogram Project. If we made a difference for women with breast cancer, we'll be able to make a difference for men with prostate cancer. Since 1997, we have been leading pioneering research that resulted in creating and clinical implementation of precision MRI, molecular imaging, robotics for biopsy and treatment, and other precision diagnostics and therapeutics that transformed prostate cancer care. In 2005, we initiated a large-scale national public awareness campaign that is Manogram, prostate imaging for men. In 2009, we had the first annual Prostate Cancer Awareness Day in Massachusetts State House and proceeded to create a new model in public education. In 2011, as the result of our advocacy, Massachusetts legislature had set up a historic precedent by recognizing prostate cancer as the central healthcare problem in men, a leading health disparity and public health priority. In 2013, Massachusetts legislature established a prostate cancer program. It started as a research project that was seminal in making MRI a new standard in patient care for guiding biopsies and treatment. So in 2014, we expanded our efforts in public awareness, reaching countless people. In 2016, we established annual global summit on precision diagnosis and treatment of prostate cancer, which, unlike other medical educational events, brought together leaders of all medical subspecialties involved in patient care, took down interdisciplinary silos, and became instrumental in creating a broad international consensus on the best clinical practices and research priorities. In 2021, we had launched Prostate Cancer Equity Resource Project to make sure that all Massachusetts men had access to the best care available today. And in 2023, we created an international working group in minimally invasive treatment to expedite clinical testing and implementation of male lumpectomy. Our statewide program in prostate cancer created a Massachusetts model of national and global leadership in public awareness, medical education, research, and health equity. AdMeTech is leading prostate cancer program in cooperation with multiple organizations, including American Cancer Society, leading state clinical experts, and multiple branches of the NAACP and Latino health insurance program located across the state. Our primary focus is on high-risk men, Black, Hispanic, and Latino individuals, and all men with family history of prostate cancer and increasing age, 50 and older. Our public awareness has focused on the importance of screening and early detection, critical for saving lives. Since 2019, we reached well over 71,000 people. The centerpiece of AdMeTech's medical education is annual global summit on precision diagnosis and treatment of prostate cancer. Our summit has been recognized as a seminal event in shaping the state of the art and future vision for patient care. Our summit brings together the key international experts representing every clinical field to review the best emerging clinical practices and research needs and priorities. There is not a corner of the world that has not been represented at this event. The latest 9th annual conference took place only in September 2025, several weeks ago. Our summit demonstrated that early detection saves lives and eliminates health disparities. With early detection of prostate cancer, every man is alive in 5 years. In sharp contrast, with late diagnosis, when cancer is spread outside of the prostate to other organs, only 28% of men remain alive at the same time. Early detection is particularly important for high-risk individuals, including any man with family history of prostate cancer or Black men who are twice as likely to die as white men. In prostate cancer, screening with blood test called PSA is the best tool we have for prevention and early detection, critical for saving lives and reducing health disparities. If we look at the reduction of mortality per year, PSA blood test is the most successful screening tool we have had in the history of cancer. It is important for men to take charge of prostate health. To do that, it's important to know your risk factors, such as Black heritage, family history of prostate cancer, particularly when your brother or father had this disease, and increasing age, 50 and older. You can assure early detection during annual visit. Ask your doctor to discuss if PSA blood test and digital rectal exam are right for you. You need to talk to your doctor starting at the age of 40 if you have risk factors I just described, or at the age of 45 if you do not have these risk factors. Before screening, it is important to avoid exercise or sex, which may impact your testing results for at least 2 days. After screening, you need to ask your doctor if your test is normal or if you need to see a prostate cancer expert for further evaluation. Our summit concluded that equal access to high-quality care is the key factor in improving patient outcomes for all men and eliminating health disparities in Black men. It is particularly important now with so many novel diagnostic and therapeutic approaches, ensuring high-quality, personalized patient care. Without equal access to these advances in patient care, we will see a widening gap in health inequalities, including survival and mortality. Consequently, AdMeTech launched the Prostate Cancer Equity Resource Project in Massachusetts in collaboration with Mass General Brigham, UMass, and other clinical institutions with the mission to save lives and deliver high-quality care for all. More recently, experts from Beth Israel Lahey joined us. Supporting organizations include Latino Health Insurance Program and multiple NACP branches located across the state. Any Massachusetts man age 40 and older is welcome to participate. Our priority focus is on Black, Hispanic, and Latino men who are at high risk of prostate cancer, delayed diagnosis, poor quality care, and death. Our goal is to expedite access to leading experts who use the most advanced approaches to screening, diagnosis, and treatment available today, and to support men every step of their medical journey. This program helps men to find an expert for the initial or a second opinion in person or virtual visits. We believe that in Massachusetts, with its leading hospitals and universal access to care, our prostate cancer equity program will be able to eliminate health disparities. Experts of the prostate cancer equity program can address any questions about prostate health, from assessing an individual healthy man's personal risk of cancer longer term, to informing men about all available options before and after screening, biopsies, and treatment. We are committed to supporting men during every step of their medical journey to ensure that no man is left behind or struggling alone. To achieve this goal, we created a streamlined, VIP-style process of patient referral and care. This process reflects how doctors involved in this program take care of our families and friends. Emma Coyer serves as a manager of the Prostate Cancer Equity Program. Emma is assisted by Erin Roberts, program coordinator, Craig McClay, patient educator, and other members of the AdMeTech Foundation's team. We serve as your individual patient care advocates. When you come to us, Emma will work with you, our team, Marjana Brigham, UMass, Beth Israel, and other clinical partners to expedite medical visits and address any needs you may have. Together with clinical experts, we empower each man to make informed choices in patient care that are right for him before and after screening, biopsy, and treatment. If you have any questions or need assistance, please contact Emma by phone 617-523-3535 or by email coordinator@admetechfoundation.org. Thank you for your attention. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce Emma Coyard, who is managing Prostate Cancer Equity Program. Emma, do you want to say a few words?
Sure. Thank you so much for having us here tonight. And as Dr. Stern mentioned in her presentation, my name is Emma, and I'm the manager of our Prostate Cancer Equity Resource Project. And this is a really unique project because I talk to patients every day who either have questions or concerns or who would like a second opinion, and we're able to refer them quickly to some of the best experts in Massachusetts. So it's an expedited process, and these are also physicians who are really kind and caring people and who will support you through every step of the process. So our call to action today is we're here as a resource for you. So please, if either you or any of your family members or community members have any questions or concerns, please reach out to us, and we are here to support you every step of the way. Thank you.
Emma, do you want to share a video of one of the patients' testimonial?
My name is Kenneth Reeves. I am the president of the Cambridge branch of the NAACP, as well as the former mayor of the city of Cambridge, Massachusetts. My intention is to say a word about the AdMeTech Foundation and its offerings and benefits, particularly to communities of color and particularly to Black men facing issues with respect to prostate cancer. I would say that in Cambridge, we've been in the Men of Color Health health business for more than 25 years. And so we have a Men of Color health outreach. However, I think we've become much more knowledgeable about ways in which we can assist the men of our city. And we particularly have become much more knowledgeable about prostate cancer and its impact on particularly Black men, who are 5 times as likely to be affected by prostate cancer than white men. So that being the case, and I've dealt with prostate cancer theoretically, and then 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. So I have my own journey. And after diagnosis, I was able to hear what my treatment options were, and I chose something called CyberKnife, which is a 6-day treatment where you go every day for about an hour. There is a laser approach to the cancer. And after that, I was able to be clear for almost 2 years. And then suddenly my PSA, or prostate specific antigen number, kept going up, and no one could figure out why. And I had many MRIs and other tests. And that's when I met AdMeTech, because I was describing this to a friend, and they said, "You sounds like you're lost in the maze of, what to do when your numbers are inexplicable." So I was in touch with our Dr. Stern, and basically I had to tell her there is a test that they don't have in Boston that I need to have. It's an imaging test. It's very advanced. It's in Europe, but not yet approved by the FDA. And she said, "I'll get it for you." And she was able to arrange it through Sloan Kettering in New York. So after much red tape and bureaucracy, I was able to get that imaging test, and it did find where the prostate cancer had moved to an area around my lung, which my doctor, who's a very important, famous department head at Dana-Farber, said he had only seen one case in his career, so he was pretty sure it wasn't to the lung. So I then learned that, the physicians are great, but they're not God. So I called him and said, "Guess what? I'm number 2. And after being number 2, I still have had to have these various questions that I don't feel competent to answer about what next steps should be in my medical care. So while I have a wonderful team at Dana-Farber, who Dr. Stern led me to, but even in all that wonderfulness, there are questions that I don't feel competent to answer. So she just 2 days ago helped me to answer 2 great big questions. So I think this is timely for you to hear that in my big questions were whether I should participate in a particular study, which would, I'm now on a very expensive pill that has my PSA number at 00000. So this is $16,000 a month. And the question asked of me by my doctor is would I would participate in a trial which would essentially stop this pill, let the cancer come back, and then observe what that does with respect to the testosterone level. And the doctor also said, well, we don't get many Black men in trials, so we'd like to get it would be important if you were to say yes. And so this was hanging over my head like a cloud. I couldn't decide because I want to do whatever I can do that will be helpful to both science and to prostate cancer with respect to Black men, because self-interest is a wonderful motivator. Her immediate reaction was, not for you, because you had one of only 2 cases with your particular doctor. The experience with people like you for such a trial is too small. And so you should be very thankful to the doctor, but it's not for you. Thank God for having a foundation that's devoted to navigating men of color through the maze of prostate cancer to be able, with a scientific point of view, give that kind of direction and consultation. So I must say that is great.
Thank you so much, Emma. And President Reeves' story is very much a reflection of what our Prostate Cancer Equity Project does, from getting men, from accelerating appointments to appropriate experts, to actually be available to men if they have issues they're struggling with. And if we cannot help them, we will make sure they will be connected to the appropriate clinical experts. I will be happy to answer any questions, and in the future, we hope, Dr. Kamendis, we really hope to talk to you to see if you would be interested to be a part of our Prostate Cancer Equity Resource Project. I will be happy to answer any questions, and I noticed there is a question in the chat, and the question from Mr. Eldrick Abreu is dealing with the critical importance of environment in cancer. And Mr. Abreu, you're absolutely correct. Just about any cancer we ever observe is a byproduct of interaction between genetic makeup and environment. Do you have any other questions for me? Mr. Abreu?
No, thank you very much.
Yeah. Any other questions for Dr. Kamendis, Dr. Potts, or me?
I'm curious about how you would recommend people to proceed when their doctors is reluctant to administer a PSA exam. I had that experience once, and my doctor told me that I had no history, no significant history, and that it wasn't necessary. But I certainly pushed him and made sure that I got that exam. I suspect other men may not be as pushy as I was.
Dr. Potts, do you want to address that?
Yes. I mean, so I guess the question is why did he tell you that, and what age were you when he told you that?
Yeah, I was near 70, somewhere around 70.
Yes. So if you look at the data, and here's one of the problems, right? So as you get older, the PSA, the expected PSA will rise. And so we're facing with really, when do you stop testing the PSA? Because if you're 75 and your PSA is 5, well, the normal PSA is 4, but 5 is above normal for somebody who's maybe 55 or 60, but it may not be abnormal at age 70. However, if you're high risk, a man of color, then, I would say I still want to have that test. I don't think 70 is too old. There's a risk, of course, of doing invasive testing and things that you don't get. But if you're a man of color, I would still be asking for that test at 70. How you interpret it and proceed, you would need to go see someone like Dr. Kamenides if it's abnormal and get their opinion. And certainly, you don't have to have the doctor do that test for you. You can pay for that test yourself, right? So so if worse came to worse, you can go directly to the lab. We use Quest Labs at Hawthorne. You can go online at Quest right now and order your own PSA if you pay for it out of pocket. And why not? If it's abnormal, you can still go proceed and see Dr. Kamenides, where he'll repeat that PSA and confirm that it's abnormal. But rather than be dependent on somebody telling you, oh, your insurance won't cover it, or I don't think it's necessary, you can do it yourself. And I think, you have to be proactive. And at 70, I would not stop checking my PSA.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Potts. Your question, Dr. also reminded me one of our events in a Black church a few years ago. And we had an event 1 year before that, and a senior pastor at the church went to his doctor and talked about PSA, and he shared his story. And he said that 1 year later, at the next event, he said that he went, based on what he heard, he was very upset that his doctor never offered him PSA test. He was at that time 60 years old, Black man. He did not know he was at an increased risk of prostate cancer. And he went back to his doctor and he asked for PSA. And his doctor gave him a song and a dance. And his response to his doctor was very simple. Either you are going to get me my PSA test or you're not going to be my doctor anymore. Mm-hmm. And he invited everyone in his church to do the same. Every Black man is in his church to do the same. Any other questions for Dr. Kamenides, Dr. Potts, or me?
I think Laurie Smalls had a question.
Yes, Miss Small?
Yes, I wanted to know, should men be concerned, men and their people who love them, be concerned when their stream is different, not only output, but direction, if you know what I mean?
Yes, I mean, the answer is yes. I mean, and not necessarily concerned about prostate cancer, but benign enlargement of the prostate. And so if you do have that kind of change, you certainly want to get checked, get a digital rectal exam, get your PSA checked, and see if it's something clinically significant beyond just benign enlargement of the prostate, which can certainly cause those symptoms. But if you certainly see that change, you definitely want to pursue it and find out that it's not something of concern.
Dr. Potts is absolutely right. So the prevalence of BPH is much higher than prostate cancer. Prostate cancer usually does not have signs and symptoms like this at the beginning until very late in the game. So BPH is the most common reason people will have something like this, which happens to all of the men as we get older.
Dr. Kamenides, as long as you answer that question, can you please answer the next question? Should a man become concerned when their urine stream and output changes?
No, it's well, yes and no. If that's impeding their quality of life, then yes, it should be addressed. But that's not usually a sign of prostate cancer. Again, that's usually a very late sign of prostate cancer in the very late stages. Most of the time, something like this is a very common aging process, which unfortunately all men go through, which is enlargement of the prostate, which constricts the urethra. That's the tube that the urine comes out. It makes the stream be not as good as it was, including actually some overactivity of the bladder, urgency, frequency, waking up at night. And all of those are usually signs and symptoms of an enlarged prostate rather than prostate cancer. But obviously, prostate cancer is a thing we don't want to be missing.
Thank you. Dina Abreu, I believe you have a question. You have your hand raised. Do you?
Yes, and thank you so much for this presentation. We really appreciate you guys. I have a quick question. Probably can be just a comment. Hey, hi, Dr. Potts. How are you? And question is like, I see all the information that you guys are providing and careful and concerns and all that. And what I would say is like, if you guys can provide like for people that are afraid or of their moment and anything like a follow-up, who would follow them up if in case it's positive or so, because we might try to bring our partners, our husband to doctors, but then they'll be like, oh my God, if it is, so what's after? And that give people that easy step going forward.
Dr. Kamenides, do you want to address Gina's question?
Yeah, so basically what I tell people is, it's much scarier not knowing something than knowing something. And knowing something usually gives you that, power to treat it. So basically putting your hand in the sand doesn't help. So basically encouraging people to come in and telling them that this is a very preventable and treatable disease should make them more comfortable in the idea. Because I know people, when they hear the word cancer, everybody is scared, and I totally get it. But prostate cancer is one of those cancers that if it can be close to 100% treatable. So we don't want to miss that opportunity until it's way too late in the game, and at which point then we lost our opportunity. So encourage your partners, your husbands, to consider coming in, because this is a very preventable and treatable disease.
I also want to emphasize that there has been a lot of discussion about and controversies around PSA testing for reasons that are very difficult to understand, particularly now when we have accurate diagnostic tools. These controversies and this discussion about PSA testing are not relevant to men at high risk, particularly Black men or men who have history of prostate cancer. They're just not relevant to men at high risk of prostate cancer. There is no controversy about PSA screening for high-risk men.
I also want to add, in the past, we used to overtreat people, which is not happening anymore. We're actually much more cautious to whom to treat, which in the past, PSA was a bigger issue because everybody that had prostate cancer was getting treatments, which is not the case anymore. So we only treat the intermediate and very high risk. So that controversy of the PSA testing, I completely agree with you. I don't think it's a controversy anymore because we're actually much more careful to whom to treat. And you're absolutely right. High-risk patients should be treated.
We've been privileged enough to let development of MRI, molecular imaging, all kinds of diagnostic integration of imaging with genetic testing, molecular testing, and all kinds of blood and tissue testing and urine testing. And, there is such a proliferation of accurate diagnostic tools, and it addressed exactly the original problem that was related to PSA testing, because it can cause false alarms, and it could miss aggressive prostate cancer, which is life-threatening. But we don't have this problem anymore, because in case of any clinical suspicion, men can be referred to very accurate diagnostic tools. So if PSA is not abnormal and clinical suspicion is there, or PSA is abnormal, we have very accurate diagnostic tools right now, precise diagnostic tools, so that each man can have, based on this diagnostic information, each man can have very individualized patient management strategy, including decision whether or not he needs invasive procedures such as biopsy and treatment, or he doesn't. Any other questions for Dr. Potts, Dr. Kamenitis, or me? Marcy, I don't think we have any more questions. Back to you and Dr. Rose.
Okay.
I just had one question for Dr. Kamenitis. Are you taking new patients? I'm sure there are some on the call who might be wondering that.
Yes, we are. Both me and my partners. We in specialty groups, usually we don't close our panel, so we're always open.
And I'd like to add, to commend Dr. Kamenides, who is my partner, but also to acknowledge their efforts on behalf of this entire community. They have chosen to cover most of the hospitals in the area when they could have chosen to limit their service to the hospital that we are directly affiliated with, which is St. Anne's Hospital. Instead, they've offered their service throughout the community, and I commend them for that.
And Dr. Kamenides, I hope we can have your permission. If anyone comes to us from the New Bedford or surrounding area, I hope we can have your permission to refer this man to you.
Absolutely.
Are there any more questions? Okay, seeing none, I think we are just about at the end of our time period. Dr. Rose, do you want to say some final words?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you thank you to everybody for joining us, and thank you for your representing your community tonight. Your participation and your concern are important in helping us to fight this disease in our community. So thanks.
And also to Dr. Stern, you are to be commended for the work that you are doing. And we are just so grateful for just for this collaboration that we have had over the years. And we will continue this work. It is important. Thank you to all who are on the call this evening. Again, to our community partners. And we hope that you will continue to commit to doing this work yearly with us during Prostate Cancer Week.
Thank you very much, Marcy. I hope everyone will have a great evening.
Thank you. You also.
Thank you.
Thank you.